cactus and succulent growers. I'm Lynn and welcome to Desert Plants of Avalon in the north of Ireland. And in today's video I'm going to be talking about the cactus and succulent plant jobs to do and to prepare for the upcoming spring. Yay! And I don't know if you're like me, guys, I cannot wait for the spring this year. So I'm going to mention a few little tips and tricks on what you need to do at this time of year now, all to prepare for the exciting upcoming growing season ahead. Yay! Now the first thing I'm going to talk about is to obviously plan ahead for the spring, is to check if there's any cacti and succulents that you plan on buying this year. I'm pretty much maxed out, but there's always room for one more or a few more, as I say. But any plants that's on your wish list, then do make a note of them and start planning ahead to add them to your collection. And that's always one of the most exciting things to plan ahead for the spring. The second one is check any plants that need to be repotted. Now I always prefer to repot either sort of very late winter or early spring, and by late winter I'm talking about sort of middle to the end of February, because I start to water cacti sort of the beginning of April time, and by repotting them sort of mid-February, it gives them almost a couple of months to settle into their new pots, as long as you use dry soil. And I'll be repotting quite a few of mine, possibly in the next few weeks, certainly in the February anyway, so do stay tuned for lots of videos. But make a note of any cacti that you want or succulents that need to be repotted. What I find sometimes helps is to put a little post-it note on some of them to remind me, and that's a good idea. It's good to start preparing early, because last year I knew I had a lot of plants I wanted to repot, and I kept saying, oh, I'll do that next week, and it never came. So do plan ahead and make a list of all them repottings that you need to do. The next thing will be check any plant labels that need relabeling. I've got quite a lot of cacti here that I've sort of lost the labels. I know what the majority of them are, but I'm a bit of a label queen. I like to have things labelled, and I sort of like all the labels going the right way as well, but I'm weird. But it's sort of good sometimes when I'm coming in here, especially when I'm doing my updates. I either can't think at the top of my head of the exact type of cactus if it's not labelled, and also it's just good to have them labelled. I just like to have them labelled anyway. So there's quite a few on mine, like for example this Tello cactus here, that needs to be labelled. A lot of the labels have either crumbled and disintegrated over the years, or they fell out when we were moving all the plants in when we got this new polytunnel. So that's what I'm going to also be planning on doing this time of year, rewriting out a load of labels. The next one, and this is very exciting, is what type of seeds, or if you want to sow any seeds this year. So I always like to plan ahead when it comes to seed sowing, and although it's still sort of late January, ideally the best time to sow seeds is obviously in the spring, but you can certainly sow now at this time of year, and definitely in the February. I've got plenty of seeds that I'm going to be sowing this year, which I'm going to show you my selection of awesome seeds that I've got to sow it's certainly in the February anyway. Now here are some of my seeds that I'm going to be sowing this year. I've got astrophytums, gymnoclisiums, some Fralia and other ones. So mega excited. I love planning ahead and seed sowing at this time of year. So that's what I'm going to be sowing in February. And I'll probably be doing some videos when I sow them. I have made a video on how to grow cacti from seed. So if you're into learning how to grow cacti from seed, as I say, this is the most exciting time to do it, then do check out a video I've made on how to grow cacti from seed. Links to that video will be up above. The next thing you want to also plan for is to make sure you've got enough plant sort of materials that you're going to need for the growing season. For example, if you need to get any new plant pots, either clay or plastic, then do make a note of what pots and what size you need to get, so you don't just think, oh, I have to repot this plant now, and then you get it out and realise you don't have the right size pot. So do make a note of any plant pots you need to get. And also things for your plants as well, such as fertilizers and also soil mediums as well. As I mentioned about the repotting, you want to make sure that you've stocked up on things like soil, pumice, vermiculite, perlite, horticulture sharp sand, grit, and the soil medium that you use. Everybody has their own favourite mixes, but do make sure that you've got plenty in stock, good to get it in, ready for the upcoming growing season, so you've got it all there when you're repotting. So that's all the planning done. Now I'm going to talk about the jobs that you need to be doing now in preparation for the spring. Now the first little job, it's not really a job as such, in fact this is quite exciting, is to check for signs of any new growth on your cacti. Although it's sort of late winter, it's quite normal to start to see a little bit of growth coming up on your plants, and I can already see here this is starting to sort of get a little bit fatten up a bit. I haven't watered any of my cacti, by the way, but you sort of can see them starting to come into the early signs of growth already. The same even with this Mammillaria fragilis here. Here's my Mammillaria carmenera, already starting to show signs of waking up. You can see all this new growth here, and none of these plants, none of my cacti at all have been given a single drop of water since September. So it's amazing how they will still come into growth. Once I start watering again, and that's not going to be until the April time, then they really start to fatten themselves up, and that's when you start to notice all the growth suddenly taking a big spurt and buds starting to form. But I just love to, it gets me so excited when I start looking for new signs of new growth, such as there for example. And also what's exciting is to check for signs of buds as well. For example, here, this is one of my gymnoclisiums, my Saglionis, and there is a bud already starting to show there. And usually the first signs you'll notice on some of your Mammillaria cacti as well. Not any on mine yet, but there's still plenty of time. So I always find that's a bit of an exciting thing to do at this time of year. You'll often see your plants just starting to wake up slowly. The next thing will be checking for pests, and keep an eye out for any mealybugs, spider mites or any other type of bugs attacking your plants. And this should be done all through the year, not just coming up to the spring. Obviously I come in the polytunnel regularly and do have a quick look around to check there's no beasties hiding anywhere on the plants, and it's good as well just to lift the pots up as well and check underneath that there's no signs of bugs underneath as well. And if I spot any mealybugs, then I put a little bit of isopropyl rubbing alcohol in a little dish with a little brush, and then what I do then is I would dab it directly onto any mealybugs. I can't see any on here, but just give you an example, just directly onto it, and it will get rid of them on contact, and also helps to prevent any more from appearing as well. And I like to also just go over a bit of dust a lot of them regularly with a very light dusting of diatomaceous earth, and this also, it helps a bit of a prevention against mealybugs. I found that very effective. So keeping an eye on pests, any you see, treat straight away. Next thing we'll be checking as well for any seed pods that need harvesting or any dried up flower heads. For example here, couple of dried up flower heads here, so I'm just going to very gently with these tweezers pull them out, and that sort of gives the plant a tidy up and also makes it all look nice, ready for when it's producing its new flowers in the springtime. So it just makes your plants look all nice, tidied up. And this seed pod here, I think that's well overdue, ready for harvesting. This is an Echinopsis one, so I'm going to be harvesting that after this video, and I've made plenty of videos on how to harvest many different types of cactus seeds, so do check out them videos after you've watched this one. It'll be on my playlist, growing from cacti and harvesting seeds videos. The next one will be check for any sort of signs of damage on your plants, because when it comes sort of towards the end of the winter, this is where a lot of damage will start to show up on your plants. And we have had a sort of a week or two where it was very, very cold weather, and cold damage doesn't always show up straight away. A lot of plants that are sort of a little bit sort of sickly towards the end of the summer often don't get through a winter, and you'll often see ones that will sort of decline, and it's good to remove any sort of decaying parts of any plants. For example, here, this is one of my opuntias. The plant is perfectly healthy, growing very, very well, and it's quite normal. Sort of towards the end of the winter, I often see sort of like brown markings on there. It's important that I remove that and take it off and just prune it off, and then it leaves it clean, because this could also spread across and spread into the plant. Quite normal with my experience, this type of a puntia as well, for the pads sometimes to die back like this. But if you do have other plants, it's really important that you make sure that you don't have any plants that look like they're rotting. If you have plants that sort of not looking too well and they're rotting at the base, and by rotting I mean when they go sort of soft and squishy, it's perfectly normal to have brown at the base. Here, for example, this is one of my pharaoh cacti, and this is just natural corking, so I know it's not rotting. But if it was signs where it was rotting, it was soft and not looking good, you have to obviously remove it from the collection. And also it's important that if a plant can be saved at all, do an emergency cut on it. I often find after there's 2 times in the year when I get plant casualties, and that's sort of more or less towards the end of the winter time, sort of February time, and also, funny enough, in the middle of summer. If it's been a very hot summer, a lot of cacti will have a bit of a dormancy if it gets too hot in the middle of summer, believe it or not. And if people are carrying on watering as normal, this can also cause it to rot as well. So obviously keep an eye that there's no sort of rot, anything like that on your plants, and remove any and treat any if there is. And as I say, any that you notice, a little bit of brown, sort of soft patches like that, perfectly normal with this type of opuntia, then do prune it back and get it cleaned up as soon as possible. The last job to sort of do will be to make sure that the area where you have your cacti and succulents are kept clean. And this is important because, as I mentioned, dead flower heads can fall off if you don't remove them. Seed pods can burst open, and then the old dead flower head can actually come out and sort of collect in on the trays and between your plants, and this is where a lot of pests love to hide as well. And it's the same if you have a greenhouse or polytunnel such as I have here. It's also good as well just to make sure the floor is kept tidy. I'm always going in here every day or a couple of days and just brooming up any bits that sort of fall off here to make the floor sort of nice and clean and tidy, because the cleaner it can be, the better it is at keeping it more pest free as well. So I hope you found that video useful, planning ahead and any little jobs you need to do to prepare yourself for the spring. And what are your plans for the upcoming spring, guys? Have you got seeds you want to sow? Have you got new plants that you want to buy on your wish list? Do let me know in the comments down below, and do check out all of my other videos on my YouTube channel here. I've got plenty on how to care for and grow many different types of cacti and succulents, including lots of plans and things you should be doing with your plants for the spring. I want to wish you all an amazing cactus powered day, and roll on spring!